Hey guys, coming to you here. Gonna try a new thing out where I'm just gonna discuss some stuff, open up some discussions. If it's interesting to you, please feel free to comment. Please feel free to share. Obviously, hit the like button if it's something of interest to you. And if you like the content I put out all together, go ahead and subscribe and share it, and be happy to give you guys more if it's something that's up your alley. So, what I'm going to do for my first of this kind of series is review the concert I went to on Friday night. I was at the venue formerly known as Deer Creek Music Center. Now it's Ruoff Music Center. It was formerly Ruoff Home Mortgage Music Center, but they decided that was too much of a mouthful for their sponsor. So I'm going to refer to it moving forward just as Deer Creek. So was there on Friday night to check out Alanis Morissette. It was the 25th anniversary of Jagged Pill tour that she's doing. And Cat Power and Garbage were the opening acts. And, I figured 25 years of Jagged Little Pill, one of the legendary landmark albums of the 1990s and of all time. Certainly one of the legendary albums by any female artist of any genre ever. Certainly a show I wanted to get to. So it was, of course, postponed due to the pandemic, just like every other show just about of 2020. So it got rescheduled. And I'll tell you what, the best thing about that show, I would say overall, besides the shape of Alanis's voice, which I'll get to in a minute, the best thing about that show, I believe, was there was a really nice spirit of unity in the air. And listen, I'm not here to be a male basher, but I think it had something to do with the high degree of feminine and female energy in the air at that venue on Friday night. So my theory is that wherever that tour stops on any given day has the highest concentration of women in their 30s and 40s of any city in the United States at that moment during the show. So, in my opinion, that's a very good thing. So, I'm not here to rail against the patriarchy, even though, I've got some beliefs there. I'm just here to say it created a nice energy. It also created a situation where when I used the men's restroom, there were plenty of women present. And I won't repeat something I heard one of them say, but needless to say, it was a spirit of unity, but it was also a little bit scandalous, with a bunch of men at a nasty men's restroom, a public restroom at a music venue. If you've ever been to any kind of ballpark or concert venue or anything like that, and you go to the men's restroom, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, on to the show. We got there a little bit too late to catch all but the last song and a half or so of Cat Power, which I was disappointed in because I wanted to see more of her. The other flip side is that her quiet, completely solo performance is not best served in a massive venue like Deer Creek. A venue that holds 25,000 people, people who are there for a loud rock and roll show. But she was a great artist to replace Liz Phair, who was originally the opening act. Cat Power, if you've never listened to Cat Power, highly recommended. She's brilliant. And her performances on that new Flag Day soundtrack, which is the new Sean Penn film starring his daughter Dylan Penn. It features Eddie Vedder, obviously of Pearl Jam, Glenn Hansard, Eddie Vedder's daughter, Olivia Vedder, and then Cat Power, and her prominence on that album cannot be overstated. Two songs in particular on there I highly recommend. So we caught a little bit of her, caught the end of her set waiting in the chair line because we're old now and we have to sit in chairs to wait for the actual main event headliner part of the concert to start. So there we were, and then they said they're out of chairs because we got there too late. So that was a waste of energy, but no big deal. So then after procuring some of that liquid death water, looks like a giant either malt beverage or just beer. It's water. It's just really water, clear water. Supposedly it's from the Alps, and supposedly it's better than any water in the world. My friend Katie says it's to die for. It tastes like water to me, but what do I know? So anyway, we got some of that and caught Garbage, and Garbage was definitely one of one of the bands in my early teen years, 95, 96, 97, that I had at least a fleeting obsession with. I remember that debut, self-titled, like the back of my hand. Certainly had a giant, massive crush on Shirley Manson. And I was in heaven when she addressed us, the audience, in her thick Scottish accent. That was terrible. But she was firing on all cylinders, sneering, doing her thing. Had dropped plenty of F-bombs throughout the performance, both during songs and in between when she addressed us as the audience. And she said something that'll stick with me about the fact that the 90s, their heyday, and many of our heydays, how different it was culturally. And that stuck with me because it really is quite different now. And that's not to say it's better or worse. I'm not here to stake my claim as a child of the 90s that it's superior or anything. It just is extremely different. Thinking of it kind of like the digital age before the internet really took over, but it still had some of the analog age. But anyway, the communal vibe, and she talked about being supported by, alternative radio and MTV, and that's just not the way the music industry works anymore. It's not how people consume their music or their art. So that was interesting, and she gave a big shout out, of course, to Alanis Morissette for being friends and supporting them, and then giving them this opportunity to go out on her tour where they knew they would get more exposure than they've probably had in a lot of years, I'm guessing. Here, now that we're in 2021, and when's the last time Garbage had a hit single? I'm guessing it's been a long time, a real hit. So the last time I remember them being prominent was after the version 2.0 album, and they had the single When I Grow Up from Big Daddy. It was on that album, but it was also the Big Daddy single. That was 1999 that single was big. That's the last time I remember them being part of the pop culture and being part of the zeitgeist. So they were great, though. I mean, I'm looking at the set list right now, and of course, when they broke out "Stupid Girl" as the third song, that was when everything went. They kind of raised it up a notch. Number one, "Crush," of course, from Romeo and Juliet. The updated one with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. I think "I'm Paranoid" was in there. Special. When they did "Wicked Ways," which isn't a song I know well, I'm vaguely familiar, but they broke into "Personal Jesus," Depeche Mode, in the middle of that. That to me was probably close to, if not the highlight of that whole set. And then "When I Grow Up," aforementioned "Push It," which Shirley was certainly creating a lot of energy there, and then "Only Happy When It Rains" closed out the set. So it was good, and they got a lukewarm reception. I wouldn't say it was super high. Down in the pavilion, we were out in the lawn, down in the pavilion, it looked like they were really getting into it and feeding off the energy, the band feeding off the crowds, and vice versa. So it was a good set. Alanis has this awesome video at the top of the show that comes on, extremely well edited video. Just a series of clips from MTV, from everything from SNL to all kinds of stuff. So very well put together, basically demonstrating how embedded into our pop culture Alanis Morissette is because of the Jagged Little Pill album. And it included parts where she's being made fun of course, for her distinctive, sometimes goofy voice. And I remarked to my girlfriend that she is one of the very few artists that you can really enjoy and respect and appreciate her music and simultaneously have no problem making extreme fun of because of that distinctive voice and the yodeling type sound and the yelps. But I got to tell you, I honestly believe that her voice is better now than it ever has been that I've heard in my life. Certainly better than it was when she was in her early 20s, when she was as huge as she was at that point. She did some things live, some performance stuff vocally that was absolutely incredible. If you get a chance to watch some of these performances, I highly recommend it. Stuff like Mary Jane and Forgiven, and some vocal moments in these that are just absolutely gorgeous, just breathtaking what she's doing. The band was tight. They were very locked in, very tight rhythm section. And the lead guitarist got a few chances to show off, but they're mainly there as a backing band for their artist, Alanis. It's mainly a showcase for her vocals, but the interaction was awesome. They did this thing where they chase each other back and forth, playing in each other's faces and backing up. And if you haven't seen any of that, I would strongly recommend checking that out as well. You know, and then of course there's the crowd pleasers. You know, you go into All I Really Want right after the video to open the set, which also opens the Jagged Little Pill album, of course. Got things going, and then Hand in My Pocket, Right Through You, and You Learn, 2, 3, and 4, all in a row. Those are all crowd pleasers. Hand in My Pocket, of course, was huge. You Learn, definitely some sing-along energy. Crowd did some great singing. I was very impressed, and it's just a wonderful vibe. And amidst some of these songs are pretty serious, and some of them are intense, but mostly there was a very strong positive energy, and a lot of that stemmed, I believe, from Alanis's, just her whole presentation is very, very, it's one of gratitude. She smiles the whole time while she sings. Almost the entire set, she had a smile on her face. And you don't see that very often. I don't see that very often. I've seen a lot of shows in my lifetime and a lot of different types of artists, and it's very rare that you see somebody that genuinely happy and appreciative of what they get to do throughout their entire performance. Not just at the end saying thank you or in between songs, but while she's singing, especially when she hears the audience sing, there was a palpable energy of not just this is a nostalgia thing, but this is we're in this present moment and we're happy to be here and we're all in this together, which is powerful, especially in the times in which we're living with the pandemic and everything. So yeah, and then you have, of course, Ironic, you have You Oughta Know closing out the main set. My favorite underrated moment, a song I had heard maybe once but was not too familiar with, was Ablaze, which is her tribute to her children. And they had this video up on the screen, home footage of her kiddos. And if you're a parent, I mean, it's impossible not to be carried by the emotion of that. So beautiful performance, and the video definitely added to the experience and created some emotion for all of us people. Most of us in the audience, I'm guessing, are parents. So, and then the encore was really cool, because if you know about the hidden track on Jagged Little Pill, Your House, it's a beautiful song, and she does it completely a cappella on that record. So she also, I remember her distinctly doing it a cappella at the MTV Video Music Awards. I don't remember which year, I'd have to look it up. But just, you expect her to come out and do one of the hits, and she came out and did that. I remember being very impressed with that even back then, age 14, 13, whatever I was, the year she did that. Well, they came out and did that, but they did it in multiple styles. So they started doing like New Orleans style jazz. They had kind of like lounge style, Sinatra style in there. They had reggae in there. They had poppy rock in there, and then she closed out the final section a cappella. It's a beautiful way, cool way to open up the encore, cool way to represent the hidden track as the way to open the encore, the hidden track from the album, since everything else from the album had been performed by them. And then Uninvited, arguably the crown jewel of her entire discography, from the City of Angels soundtrack, and then Thank You, which I think she's closed shows with forever. It's a nice way to say goodbye, of course, and give her appreciation. Like I said, that was very genuine throughout the entire performance, so it was a nice way to say goodbye. So lots of good stuff. Now, here's my only complaint about this concert. The sound had issues, and the group I was with, we all agreed it was too quiet. Alanis has a tendency to sing way off mic because she has an extremely loud and powerful voice, but sometimes she's too far off mic, so I'm guessing they keep turning up the mic to accommodate it. But then the problem was the music ended up being too low in the mix compared to where her vocals were, and there was one point where she broke into harmonica. I can't remember which song it was, when she broke into harmonica, and the harmonica was just way over here, and it was almost too loud. If the band had been at proper volume, it wouldn't have affected us at all, but when it came in, it was just blistering. So they finally got it worked out at the end, I think near the end of the main set before the encore, but it felt like it came too late. I think Garbage was louder than the first, I don't know, dozen songs or so of Alanis' set. So that was my one big complaint. And then, of course, dealing with the human beings. You feel good to be in the celebration of the human race, and then you have to be herded out with them, and that was a little unnerving during these times of COVID. But overall, my respect, utmost respect for Alanis. I hadn't seen her in probably 16 years, I think. I saw her one time previously with Bare Naked Ladies, Canadian tour. She's firing on all cylinders. She's not one of my favorite artists of all time by any means, but my respect is through the roof for her. It was a great show. Garbage and Cat Power, great supporting acts. Audience was mostly very, very cool. And Deer Creek is still one of the great outdoor venues in the world. I would say the best one that I've been to here in the Midwest would be Alpine Valley, the Gorge, and Shoreline, Mountain View, California. Those are obviously ones in the West Coast I want to get to, and then the ultimate bucket list that tons of people I know have been to. I was supposed to go to last year, Red Rocks, obviously, in Morrison, Colorado. Can't wait to go to those, but for now, it's nice to have a home venue as awesome as Deer Creek still is. Even with all the corporate stuff everywhere, even with tons of additions and things that aren't really my speed, it's still just a beautiful place to see music. And it was a beautiful night. The weather was perfect. The moon was out, a crescent moon. Just a great night to see music. So thanks for letting me share this with you. Thank you for watching if you stuck around till the end. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and give it a like. Give it a share if you feel so inclined, you think people would like listening. And then certainly comment. I would love a discussion in the comment section. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you guys like it, I'll certainly be doing more of these. So thanks again for watching. You guys have a great day.